Good afternoon and welcome everyone. I'm very excited to be here and I am glad that you all made it here from the airport. There's still more that are on their way. I want to have a full room in here. So please excuse the interruption while others are still making their way here throughout the presentations. Now, I'm going to turn it over to Annette Backer, or President of the Children's Tumor Foundation.
First of all, welcome everybody. I got heavily scripted by Traceann, but the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go off script. So Traceann was our walk director before, as all of you know. And when 2 years ago, Traceann and I talked, I said, Traceann, I really would like you to develop this patient engagement program. And I got this glaze over her face. And she was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to want to do that. That same weekend, I had approximately 50 emails from Traceann with ideas and things that she could be doing. And I think today the result is here, right? With this, I just wanted to ask you for a warm applause for Traceann for kicking this off and making this such a success. So now I go on script. As Traceann announced earlier, we are really excited to see this patient engagement and to see this patient training coming all together. It's very close to all of our hearts at CTF because patients that understand are really patients that partner, and patients that partner are patients that also have a voice in the research agenda, and that's exactly what we want. We want our research community to work on what matters, and we really want you to be an active participant in the research process. We don't want victims, we want action. We are really looking forward to this half day. We have seen a lot of very active people already on the training program. You will see there's a couple of graduates this afternoon. I'm not supposed to disclose the numbers, so I'm not going to do that. But it's pretty high as a number, and it is super exciting because this is going to energize the patient community, but also energize the research community, because having patients in the room that really understand what research is all about and what researchers are doing is also very, very, very energizing for the research community. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful afternoon and enjoy.
Thank you, Annette. And like Annette mentioned, I know 2 years ago, some of you were on that journey with me. Sarah and Sheila Cahoon. I see Kylie over there. A bunch of you joined forces with me in a patient engagement task force when I really didn't even truly understand what patient engagement was all about. So that happened. And here we are today, and I am really thrilled. This is a milestone year for CTF. It's there's lots to celebrate this weekend. It's our 40th anniversary, but I do think the patient engagement program truly is an important milestone for CTF, because if no other time, it really highlights the foundation's priority to really be at the forefront of accelerating research and finding an end and a cure to NF. And the patients are a very important component of that. In fact, you're a very important component of that. And so, I'm very thrilled to be here, and I feel honored to be able to develop this program alongside each of you. So, what is the patient engagement program? So, about a year and a half ago, I started developing the patient engagement training program, and I've worked with, I've depended heavily on Sarah. I'd sit over there. And there's so much happening. Patient engagement is a broad field, and the theme of this weekend, I know this is our first meeting, it precedes the NF Forum, but the theme is patient engagement, patient-centered outcomes research. So I'm going to do my best to not go too deep into it, because we do have some other experts who will talk in detail over the weekend on Saturday more about that. But I do just want to focus this afternoon on what the CTF program is. So our focus is really in the clinical research space. We are looking to get advocates to learn and understand what their role is and how to best, give their input and their voice in research. So we have a patient engagement training program where we're very much looking to do that, to get you all equipped to get involved in the research process. Now, the goal of the patient, in fact, there are three main goals of the program. We want to help you, like I said, to add your voice to the process. We want to provide education. And so today, in fact, is our in-person training education continuation of our online program. And we also want to be able to share knowledge and partner with other stakeholders, industry. We really want to partner with other rare disease groups because, while we're not the pioneers of this, we really want to have our place as well. So what have we done? So since last year, we've created an online training program with 5 modules. Some of you have gone through those modules, but before you did, you had to submit an application to join the program. So we had an application process because whilst you're all advocates in your own right, some of you are fundraising, you're volunteering in different capacity, and really it was important for us to really focus on those of you who this research was your interest, right? You were motivated to spend your time devoted to representing the entire community and really helping researchers understand and doctors understand what it means to live with NF and what is important to you as patients and caregivers. What are your priorities? And so we had an application process. There were 34 applicants, and this was a simultaneous process with the response evaluation in schwannomatosis and neurofibromatosis research, the RAINS group. And so some of the applicants to the CTF program have also gone on to begin participating in the RAINS group because I don't want to say this is about CTF, but I'm very fluid and very dynamic, and I like to keep things moving. So there is no point in holding people who are energized and wanting to get involved to wait until after today to graduate to begin this important work. So some of you here are already involved with the RAINS working groups, and you'll hear a little bit more about that this afternoon. Now, so once we went through those applications, the next step was the online training course. So some of you have gone through those 5 modules about CTF, and the idea is, not to, the message here is not that you don't know enough about NF or you are not already equipped, but we want you all to be on the same page, right? And have similar knowledge, because a lot of times too, your experience is also limited to, how you're affected. So, you may be NF1, but we want you to also understand, the aspects of NF2 as well. And so that's a great thing about the online course. You're able to really access resources that we already have on our website and that is already out there as well. So we're not looking to reinvent the wheel either. And so that's the about CTF and NF course. Then there's the basics of research concepts because we felt that was important for you to understand as well. The NF registry, another patient engagement tool that I hope you're all signed up for and understand and are being great ambassadors to get others involved in that, because that's going to be a very powerful mechanism for helping us to get to treatments and cure. And then there's a drug development process. That part of the module, we're hoping, we're not hoping, Salvo will expand on. The online is very much introductory, and as we move forward, like today, the in-person, the hope is that we'll be able to explain these better and also be able to take questions and improve your understanding. And then there's a participating in research. Some of you, and this is where the clinical really comes into it, because some of you have been involved in clinical trials and what's not, and whilst not all of you have, there's a lot that you can share for those who have already gone through it, and there's still a lot that you can learn about how important it is to add your voice and why it's important to be asking the right questions, whether it's your child, and also how important it is to get information back after being involved in those clinical trials and just helping to disseminate the information. So I know Nova is going to spend a little time on that this afternoon for us as well. So again, the idea is online, self-paced, about 2 to 3 hours. I looked at the surveys that you did, the quiz at the end, and the feedback was, it took about 2 to 3 hours, which is what I thought to do this. And for those who may not have completed it, it's still available online, so feel free. And so we had set that up for 9 weeks, just to, I know you guys are busy, to give you that opportunity to get it done. So once the online portion was completed, then it made advocates eligible to be here, for the most part, in a sponsorship capacity. But this meeting is open to every NF patient and caregiver who wants to attend, and I'm so happy to see a few new faces that are here this afternoon. So it was intentional in having that on the agenda, whilst I do also believe that the patient advocates are an exclusive group, and Connie may argue because the VLC is exclusive as well. But anyway, so we're here today. So now this is a part 2 or in-person training. Like I said before, this is where you get the opportunity to ask those questions and get those questions answered. And if we can't answer them, then we'll figure it out together. But the whole scope of this program is really to increase our capacities about learning, education, networking, sharing. Now, upon completion of the 2-part course, so after today, you are official advocates of graduates of the Children's Tumor Foundation Patient Representative Training Program. Not that you weren't already, out there advocating, but our hope is really to really build this up, that we can have you be a resource to the NF community, have your bios and your, your details on our website, that when researchers, extend these opportunities to us and pharma and other or rare disease groups that are looking for people like you to really, even whether it's not specific to NF, but just in a more generic way, to share your knowledge, we're able to say, hey, we have this group of people that you can really tap, because if no one else knows, they really know. And, at this point, you're not just representing yourself, but you're representing the broader NF community, rare disease community. So that's what's been happening. So, like I touched on, after this training, after, the online, and when we leave here today, it really doesn't stop. And, this has been new for me, and it really has been quite an experience, coming from the development and fundraising side, and, really trying to understand the clinical space. So I've leaned a lot on my colleagues in research. I'm so privileged to have them, Pam Knight, bless her heart, and Salva and Annette and Heather and Kate, who are not here, but being immersed in the clinics team has really helped me to understand. So there's been a lot of growth in that area. And so, but this program really at its core is very much about you. It's about the patient, it's about and the caregivers. And so, we're looking to you, I'm looking to you to really partner with me and with CTF to continue to evolve this program and to define, what is, because whilst we're focused in clinical research, because there is an urgency, right, to end NF, and there is an urgency to get to treatments and cures. So whilst that's where we're starting, that the sky is the limit, and so there's opportunities in healthcare. There's just so much out there that we can diversify, but so I'm really looking to your help, for your help. So one of the immediate opportunities was RAINS, which you'll hear about early, and like I mentioned before, some of our patient advocates are already involved with that. But every day I get emails. I'm not short on emails. I get emails from all over. There are these opportunities, and I'm really just bubbling to send that information out to you, and to get you signed up to get involved in these opportunities, to be spokespeople at meetings, your local symposia. You can go there, talk about patient engagement, help others in the community to understand you have a voice, because really what's happening, where the shift is happening is that traditionally, like, patients have been involved as subjects, right? We moved from mice and what's not, and now we're testing out in humans. But there's there's more for us to do, right? We have a place. We need to ensure that, your priorities. We don't want, researchers spending your time developing, solving problems that really is not a priority for us. That's not what's going to impact our quality of life. And this is where you come in, and this is where that shift is happening, that we really need to get ahead. So, once they get to the FDA and they're looking to approve drugs, they will understand that, hey, guess what? The NF community said this is what is important to them. So maybe this really is a good proposal. So that's our end goal. So how do you get involved? So if you're not already involved and you're affected by an F, whether you're personally affected, you have an F, or you have a family member that has an F, and you communicate effectively, you want to listen and actively participate, you're great working in a team, or we'll help you to work in a team, and you're really eager to learn more about the science behind an F and treatments and make a broader impact, we want to hear from you. And don't worry too much about number 5, the ability to travel overnight, because, those opportunities are few. Like, this doesn't happen every month, right? It's just for once. And, right, so there will continue to be an application process, just so we're ensuring that we're, getting the right people that meet this criteria involved. Now, we do have a presence on the CTF website, ctf.org/patient engagement, and there is a form there. So if you hear anyone after today that says, hey, I really want to learn more about what that thing called patient engagement is, then that's where they need to go and submit their interest, and I will get to them. So just continuing about what has happened and how we've got to where we are today. So we were so fortunate to to have been awarded a grant from the Patient-Centered Outcomes Research Institute to help support this initiative. And Sarah Adsit was, I know I keep harping on her, but I want you all to, I want more Sarahs. So this really was a rigorous process, and it was a team approach, but it required us to really demonstrate as well that we're very patient-centric and that we're partnering with patients to truly, effect this such important change. And so I did tap Alwyn was another person as well that I asked for his support to get behind that application, and we were awarded $50,000 through the Patient-Centered Outcomes Research. And this really is a big deal, especially for our brand to align with PCORI. And so, with that and subsidy from CTF, we're able to put this meeting together and was able to, where the need was, sponsor a few patient advocates to come this weekend. So what's next? Costume party Saturday night. So really, what's next? I have all these ideas about how we're gonna continue to learn and gain more education through webinars. I'm looking to Nova here. SysScript is a great organization that pushes so much information out that we can partner with. And there are tons of others like that we could partner with, and just continue to network. Participate in research opportunities, but these are listed. The opportunities are endless, but really it requires your input, right? You're also talented. Have all these skills that you could lend to us, because we don't have all the answers and we don't have all the resources. So we're looking to you, and toward the end of the day, Alwyn's going to help to chair a session to begin to get those ideas, bring those ideas to the forefront, because again, perfect example of an expert helping to do what I may not know how to do best, right? So thank you in advance, Alwyn. But one of the main outcomes that we really want to get out of this weekend and moving forward is what we're calling our Patient Help Doctors Network, PHD. And that will be an online presence. I do know that Connie has a workspace for volunteer leadership council. So if you think about that in the same context, that would be our Patient Help Doctors Network, but it's going to be borderless, right, and limitless. We want to incorporate all stakeholders, right? So not just NF, but we want to learn from the Kidney Foundation. We want to learn from others who have done this and who have already, learned from their mistakes. And we just want to keep the conversation going and get information out there. So you have an evaluation form. We'll get to that at the end of this afternoon, but I will ask that you kindly indicate your interest in that so we can, again, that's an area, how is the best way to do that? How is the best way to keep the conversation going? And then, yes, there's going to be a party on Saturday night, so I'm looking forward to that. I think that's it from me. Thank you for listening, and if you have any questions for me? Annette, no questions, not allowed. Okay, great. Well, thank you.
Thank you.